how do you thrive in a world that wasn't created for you to survive in? I was born to a Sikh family of refugees, immigrants, artists, entrepreneurs. But for a long time, I was unaware of my privilege. My privilege of being lighter skinned, being able-bodied, being a cisgender woman, having financial stability. I grew up between Mumbai, Delhi, Kuwait, and Berkeley, California. And to cope with the feeling that I never fully belonged in any of these spaces, I pretended that I did. But inside I had a lot of questions, and the ones that screamed loudest were, where do I belong? And who gets to belong? My mom, she encouraged my questions. See, she built a successful fashion business in India at a time where such a concept didn't exist, at least not for women. I used to come home from school, and there she was, day after day, hundreds of sketches spread out across our dining table, a tailor's tape around her neck. It wasn't long before I'd come home from school and I'd sit at that table with her, and I would sketch out designs. And the sketching turned into writing poetry, turned into singing, turned into dance, turned into photography, turned into filmmaking. A USC study that analyzed 1,100 films over the past 11 years found that only 43 women worked as directors. Now, for women of color, it's worse. Only 4 Black women, 2 Asian women, and 1 Latina worked as directors out of 1,100 films. That's 7 women of color total, less than 1%. But I was drawn to film because it has the power to create belonging. And as much as the world was telling me that I don't belong in this industry, my mom showed me that if what you want doesn't exist, that just means you have to create it yourself. So I decided I'm going to be a filmmaker. I get to college and I immediately join all of the film groups on campus, but it's already a boys' club, and working in the boys' club meant just being in charge was seen as a threat. This one time, I'm in the editing room and this guy I know comes in, and he says, I heard you're planning to apply for this position coming up. I'd appreciate it if you didn't apply because I really want it. But hey, if I get it, you can be my assistant. After college, it's more or less the same, except now I'm also doing the job of 5 people and getting underpaid for it, even after 6 years of experience. Then Hearst Magazines comes along. They hire me to produce video content for one of their publications. I'm like, okay, finally, it's full time. I finally have benefits. I'm still doing the job of 5 people, but I'll take what I can get. And around this time, I was also in the process of setting up a film production company with 2 other women of color. Like me, they wanted something better than this boys' club. So we thought, let's create a space for us. But I still had my full-time job. So one evening, they call me up and they're like, okay, sis, when are you quitting? And I'm like, I'm not ready, I don't know. The very next morning, and I'll never forget this, the very next morning, the bosses of my boss, who I've never spoken to before, they call up our entire team at work, and they tell us we have 4 hours to pack up. We were all laid off, right then and there. After the shock came relief. The universe was giving me an opportunity to leave my seat at this toxic table, walk out, and build a whole new table. And that's how Breaktide Productions was born. We're a film production company owned and operated by women of color, and we came together because we know our freedoms are intertwined. And we settled on this name because we're on a mission to disrupt the tides of exploitive systems and create new waves where collective liberation is possible. See, if it was hard for me to get into this industry, it's worse for Black and brown women and gender non-conforming folks with no support and no access. So here's how we change that, and you can do it too. 1, we predominantly hire women of color and underrepresented folks, and we pay them equitably. 2, we encourage each other to ask our worth, and the financial transparency between us creates trust and solidarity. 3, we exclusively partner with businesses that have ethical practices and that invest in diverse storytellers. And 4, we care about each other, and we create a work culture that allows us to take care of ourselves, which means absolutely no 15-hour shoot days. Women of color know what it's like to be undermined and exploited, and that's precisely why we're best suited to lead us all forward. Because when we're in charge, we implement practices that help the most marginalized of us, and that ends up helping everyone. The work that we do is so much bigger than representation. This is about a redistribution of power. So, for all of us with privilege, let's update our titles from allies to co-conspirators. Because when women of color thrive, when the most marginalized in our communities thrive, everyone thrives. And in case you're still wondering, how do you thrive in a world that wasn't created for you to survive in? Well, you don't. You create a new one. And this new world is being built as we speak. The question is, will you join us? Thank you.